Hey there guys, today's going to be part 5 of the DIY truck camper project, and in this video I'm going to be building the base cabinetry that will be on the inside of these exterior compartment doors and ultimately house either tools or camping supplies depending on what I am taking the truck camper on. And in addition to building the cabinets, I'm also going to be doing a review on a Bluetti power station. They were kind enough to sponsor this video and send me their AC180. If you remember back a couple of years, I did a review on their AC200 power station. I really liked it. I even welded off of it, but it was just a little bit too big for the space that I needed where those compartment doors are. So anyway, I'm going to be building these cabinets with just the power from the power station. So hopefully you'll find it interesting if you are in the market for power stations. And if you're not and you just want to see some cabinets get built, hopefully that will be interesting. So let me get the table saw out. We'll start cutting materials and using this power station and seeing what we can get turned up in there. So to start this video off, let me just give you a quick look at the inside of the camper and what my game plan is to build these cabinets. Because up until this point in the truck camper project, this is just a glorified shell and I've done very little interior work other than a little plywood. The rest is all just framing and insulation. So the goal for this video is to build a cabinet that encompasses this exterior compartment door where camping supplies and or tools will be stored. And I'm going to be adding an interior access door on that cabinet so I can access stuff from the inside. And then I'll add a little partitioned area about right here where the Bluetti power bank will sit so I can access it from this exterior compartment, as well as some 12-volt switches that I'll be powering. And then I plan to do the exact same thing on this side as well, although it'll just be a little bit thinner. So right now, let me get the Bluetti fired up and we'll start ripping some plywood and see if I can build both of these cabinets just off of the battery bank power. Now before I get this thing all fouled up with aluminum shavings and sawdust, let me just give you a quick tour of the AC180's features, as well as how I plan on using it in the context of my truck camper project. So as you would imagine with any plug-and-play power station, it has an assortment of AC outlets for powering AC appliances. And in my case today, I'm going to be using it to power my table saw, my miter saw, my router, things like that. But it also has a 12-volt socket, so you can power 12-volt appliances. And in the case of my truck camper, this is eventually going to be the primary power source for powering all of my 12-volt lights and outlets. And then down here below has USB-C and USB-A plugs. And then the display screen is right over the power button. And it has DC and AC selection points. And this display, you probably can't see it with this lighting, but this will show what is coming in power-wise versus what is going out. So when you're charging it versus when you're powering something. And then it can be powered up with a standard wall outlet, a car socket plug, or in the case of this truck camper project, I'm eventually going to be connecting a solar panel that will be mounted on top of the camper directly to this power station via this cable right here. You don't need a solar charge controller because it is all built into the power station itself. And in addition to that, I think one other thing I want to make, even though I'm using this just as a portable power supply for the truck camper, I think something like this is also really good to have on hand for emergencies, whether you're using it to keep a fridge or freezer running during a power outage, or using it as a uninterruptible power supply for electronics. It's just really a great thing to have on hand. And with that said, let's get this thing fired up and start cutting some wood. And if you're wondering what the Bluetti's doing while I'm using all my cordless tools, well, as you can imagine, it's just sitting in the shop charging the cordless batteries. And you can see the output right there on the display. And here's a look at the cabinets completely installed. You can see I also built them over here on the right side as well, complete with interior compartment doors and a whole lot of my favorite aluminum trim. And for obvious reasons, you can probably figure out why I chose to just film building the left side, as it was just much more of a simple build. But if you are wondering why this one doesn't have a side interior access door, the reason for that is because I plan on putting some like a tray and tool cubbies right here, but I don't want to do that until I figure out my flip down bed. But overall, the Bluetti did a good job of powering all my tools to build both sides of these cabinets, and it is sitting pretty in its home down here in the little power bank cabinet. And being that I don't have my 12-volt wiring all done, I did wire just enough temporary toggle switches so I can show this powering the floodlights that are on 3 sides of this camper. And then for this right side compartment, there's not a whole lot else to say other than it's just a big cubby to be able to store all my toolboxes or large kind of camping supplies. And then I have this divider that opens up into where the Bluetti sits so that I can have a power outlet that I can pull out to power tools, or just have general access to the Bluetti, as well as letting it have some ventilation over into the compartment. And moving on over the left side, pretty much the same as the right, with the exception being that the compartment is just far more shallow. And I have a divider in the middle that allows me to have a little accessory shelf up there for the storage of smaller items. It's got a 1-inch lip so they won't fall out. And if you were wondering about the little oval cutouts, that is so I can have access to the camper jack retaining pins. The jacks slide in those holes right there. I reach in there and put a pin so that the jacks don't fall out while I am raising or lowering this. Oh, one other thing. If you're wondering about struts for these doors, I do have plans to put those on, but right now I'm just using a bungee cord to hold it up for the video. Alright guys, well I think that's going to do it for this part of the DIY truck camper project series. Hopefully it was interesting, and perhaps it was also informative, especially if you happen to be in the market for a power station like the Bluetti AC180 that I was using to build these cabinets. And if you are, I would encourage you to check the link that I'll post down below, so you can take a look at the very broad spectrum of power stations and all things of that sort that they offer, everything from very small stuff to very large, like house-sized systems. And then as for what is to come next in the DIY truck camper project, that is probably either going to be the flip down bed kind of system, or the finishing the wiring on the 12 volt. I mentioned that this Bluetti AC180 is what I'm going to be using to power like those floodlights, and then some of the basic lights inside, and eventually those cabinets are also going to have interior lights, so when you open the door you can flip on a light, so in case it's night you can still see what you're grabbing for. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button for more similar content if you like my random builds and rainwater harvesting and various other randomly sporadic type of interests of mine. And I will see you on the next one, and until then, God bless.